If you feel like your calendar is full and nothing seems to be happening to be able to scale or sustain your business, then this one is for you. So, in this video, we are going to discuss why a balanced calendar is the key to your success, not only in your business, but also in your life. So, if you've been finding my content helpful, I invite you to like, comment, share, subscribe, all the things to help these videos get out to more practice owners that could benefit. And I also invite you to take my 2-minute Are You the Bottleneck quiz to find out who or what is slowing down your progress. When I had my private practice, nothing, I mean nothing, was balanced. I was working constantly and always in my head, but I also wasn't eating great or at all. And my sleep was almost non existent. So my body was always hurting. Like there's just always things seem to be just wrong. And I honestly, I like coffee, but I was sucking down coffee like it was nobody's business. Like if I could have had an IV port with coffee in it, I probably would have done that because I was having a hard time functioning. And because I was taking all this action, and with all that action, there were little to no results despite the amount of effort that I was putting in. So, what I want you to take away from this video is that you're not stuck, you're not failing, you're not losing your mind, even though that's how it feels. It is the fact that you are not balanced. So, I have talked about a balanced calendar in many of these videos, as well as my Fear Chronicles podcast, False Evidence Appearing Real. If you have not checked it out, I invite you to do so. So I want you to reflect on this for yourself. And I want you to ask yourself, when was the last time that I blocked off time for myself or left blank or white space in my calendar on purpose? So as we dive in, I have yet to title this video, but as we know, congruency equals balance. So when we're thinking about our calendar and we're thinking about time and we're thinking about all these things, we're going to high level overview of some of the main areas, but to really drive this home because there's patterns in everything and how you do one thing is how you do everything and it shows up everywhere. So when we think about universal principles, there's, a yin and a yang, there's, masculine and feminine. That's all the things that we're going to talk about. So I drew a line in half, tried to anyway. And I didn't want to do positive and negative signs because nothing is negative here. So I just switched colors. So we're going to have a pink side and a purple side for the purposes of this video. Okay. So of course, since I already started talking about the calendar and all this actioning, that is where we're going to start. So our calendars, they tend to be jam-packed. That's also where our life typically lives. Like even to this day, I live by my calendar. There's many reasons for that. And there's many purposeful, intentional reasons for that, because that also clears up mental bandwidth in your brain of not having to remember to do things, but there are systematic ways to implement them in your calendar, which I dive a lot more into in my program, the Private Practice Burnout Solution, which we also do quarterly live planning workshops where we dive deeper into all the things. But when it comes to your calendar, I want you to, again, look at these two halves. And so when I had my private practice, I was very not balanced, right? I was very lopsided. I was in the action, and there was no white space in my calendar, none of these things. There was no time for me. And that's why my body hurt. That's why I wasn't feeding myself. I was just drinking coffee. Gosh, I don't even think I was drinking water, at least not enough, right? So when we block time, this is intentional. And even though we want white space or blank space or even selected slots where it's just you or self-care time or whatever it is, there still needs to be enough of it. It needs to be balanced, right? So it may not always be a true, 50-50 split, but you want to have enough of it to be balanced for the amount of effort and the amount of action that you're doing. If you're always leaning into the action and you're not resting, your output, your effort, all the things that you're putting into that is not going to be at its highest, greatest capacity. It's going to be maybe half that or even less than. So for me, that's what I found. I could be, actioning till I'm blue in the face and I'm effort, more, energy, and never refilling my own cup, never actually resting, never fully disconnecting. So my output was a fraction of what it could have been had I just actually implemented rest. But in my mind, I thought, I don't have time for that. And what have we talked about? And what have we learned so far that you always have time. And it's our relationship with time that is the culprit in a lot of the way, our perception and the way that we think, right? So we're going to move down now to your brain, and we're going to split it in half as far as hemispheres, right? So the left side of your brain and the right side of your brain, which I've talked about in earlier videos. You haven't watched them, I highly recommend you go check it out because I dive in a lot deeper. Again, this is a high level overview in this video for the purposes of balance. So when we are actioning and we are in our business and we're not taking the rest and we're not filling our own cup, we're always in our left side of our brain. And we're essentially neglecting the right side of our brain, which when we think about the brain, the brain does a bunch of different functions, even when we break it down to the left and the right side. But for the purposes of this video, right, your left side of your brain is the logical, analytical side of your brain, usually where we're at when we're business and clients and doing all the forward-facing things. And the right side of our brain is the creative side. That is kind of the free-flowing, honestly, where our joy and our flow is in the right side of our brain. So, and I'm jumping a little bit ahead. So there needs to be a balance. And again, that will be reflected in your calendar, right? Being able to pause and take these breaks between, being forward facing, analytical, logical, I'm in my business. And there is a balance where you can actually get in that creative side also in your business. And I've actually talked about that in a different way in an earlier video when we talk about flow, but then also how we get those creative juices flowing in our business. Now, when we get to energy, now I have talked about energy in a few different ways within a few different aspects or strategies. But when we're looking high level overview of your energy, right? There's going to be masculine and feminine, right? So this pink side, we're really looking at the left side of our brain, the actions that we're taking in our calendar, and then now our masculine energy. So in our calendar, when we are doing, block of admin, clients, of emails, or whatever that is, that you're in your masculine energy. That is the action. That is the doing, right? We're giving. And again, that's like the logical side. And then when we're in our feminine energy, think of your calendar now when we're looking at the rest and recovery, the, things that bring you joy, those types of things, that lies in the feminine energy. That is our ability to feel. That's our flow. When we reach a flow state where things just like you lose track of time and everything is so easy and you're just creative and all of these things, that is that flow feminine energy. And again, that the masculine is the doing. And a lot of it is goal oriented, right? When we think about when we set goals and then implement into our calendars. So I'm hoping this starts to tie it all together. You don't want me to really draw because it'll be horrific. So this is as much as I'm going to draw, but I want you to kind of start thinking and visualizing that within your own calendar and how it may not look even, but how far left or lopsided are you on the action and the masculine and the left side of your brain? Okay. Now, this was even true with your body. And this is something that it's an intuitive thing because there are certain conceptual ideas about two we even, if we split ourselves like I did with our stick figure with her, split her in half, and we have a masculine and feminine side of our body. Okay. The right side of your body is the masculine side, and the left side of your body is the feminine side. So again, that right side, you think like sometimes even when we have pains and certain things and ailments that are only on one side of our body, that is typically related to that, like that energy base, right? So the right side again is the action, the logic, and then the left side, the being the feminine side, is the intuitive and the part that is able to receive, right? So all of this, when we tie that together, is just that. So I know I have it up top, but it's worth repeating in all ways. So you can't, it's balance. I realize you probably can't read it. It's balance. You can't have one without the other. And if you have both, they need to be as balanced as possible. And granted, we're not robots, we are human. When we think about all the ways that we come into true alignment, actually, that's probably what I could have wrote instead is alignment. We want alignment and congruency in across all areas. So when we think now, let's apply this to life and business. Your calendar should be in alignment. Not only when you have blocks in there for yourself, but you think about if we have two different calendars meshed into one and we've got your work stuff and then everything that's not. So your personal life, whether that's, your children's schedules, your, school breaks, whatever, everything should be balanced and enmeshed in a way that feels good. One doesn't feel heavier than the other, right? And when we think about alignment and with our brain and like what we are doing and how much we're leaning into business versus something that's creative that brings you joy, things that are just like not related to generating revenue or just work, right? And then we think about pure alignment and balance within our energy. A lot of times, a lot of us, especially parents, when you think about this on the outside looking in, when we think of a parent and they're, with their children and they're doing all the things, outside looking in, some people may perceive that as being very feminine. It's actually not. Like for me, when I'm in pure mom mode and I'm mothering and I'm with my kids and I'm doing all these things, that is actually your masculine energy. Being a parent, you, and you're with your children, you are primarily in your masculine. So if you look at your calendar and you're looking at your work and you're looking at, your time spent with your kids and what's going on, how much of that time you are actually in your masculine energy. And how can you get more balance in your feminine energy? That again is that ability to receive, rest, relax, recover, do things for you. So I'm hoping that this really dials it in. But that is a big misconception that I actually didn't even have it anywhere that I wanted to add because that really opened my eyes to a lot of discrepancies with my own energy, my own calendar, especially when I was working in my private practice, that I did not realize that, for like 98% of the time, but every day I was in my masculine energy. So I was always doing, and then I'm, mothering and all of these things. And so I really wasn't, I wasn't resting, but I really wasn't able to shift. And that's easier said than done. It sounds simple, but it takes intentionality to do that, to get out of the action and the doing and all of these things and being, kind of on your toes and your head on a swivel, right? To get into your feminine energy. So tying that all together, and even with parts of your body, I will just say, just for myself personally, I have found that to be pretty spot on because when it comes to when I may have certain discomfort, pains, things that get, you know, don't feel so great, it's usually on one side of my body. And even furthermore, the area on my body speaks a lot to what may or may not be going on when I am out of alignment. So I would say this is really about being aligned. So that's true alignment. So when we think of congruency, that is balance and really alignment across all areas of your life. So that is your personal life, that is your business. So when we zoom out, that's what I want you to do. When you look at your calendar, really zoom out. It's not just your business, it is everything, because your calendar is your life. Your calendar encompasses everything for you, your personal life, your social life, your children, if you're a parent, your work, your networking, your everything lives in that calendar. So you have to really zoom out and look at the big picture, and you will find patterns. You will find your analytics. You're going to find where you are not congruent. Therefore, you are not balanced. So, like I said before, do you even have intentional blank space or clocks for yourself? And this will speak to the results that you're getting. There's less desirable results that you have, and also speak to the fact that you feel like you're doing, and you're not getting the results because we're efforting and everything is hard and we're doing all these things. But what are we doing on the flip side of that, right? So the yin and the yang, think about that. Are you doing anything to fill your own cup? Are you resting? Are you drinking enough water? Like, you have to look at both sides. Take a vacation, go find some grass, go walk outside, whatever it is that you need to do, and get more balance. So again, you are not stuck. You are not failing. You are just not yet balanced. And I said yet because if there's some simple shifts, as long as you can identify the patterns, interrupt the patterns, and create a calendar, a balanced calendar that works for you. So I really hope that you found this helpful. If you did, again, like, comment, subscribe, all the things. Share it with anybody that you feel that could benefit from this. I invite you to check out my Fear Chronicles podcast, False Evidence Appearing Real, and I will see you in the next one.